You wake up, reach for your phone, and before your eyes even focus, you have already made a choice that costs you thousands. It is not a subscription you forgot to cancel or a bill you missed. This is a silent, invisible leak draining your future wealth while you are still half asleep. Most people believe wealth is built through massive investments or career breakthroughs. The reality is far more dangerous because your biggest financial enemy is hiding in your morning routine. If you do not identify this specific psychological trap today, you will continue paying a compounding tax on your own life without ever realizing it. This tax begins the moment your alarm rings and you enter a state of reactive decision-making. You are not choosing your day, you are merely responding to the demands of a digital world designed to harvest your focus. This cycle has become so normalized that we no longer see it as a choice. When you first wake up, your brain is in a transitional state known as sleep inertia. Your prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for logical long-term planning, is still warming up. In this vulnerable window, your primitive brain takes the wheel and seeks the path of least resistance. A few decades ago, the morning was a sanctuary of silence and gradual preparation. You had time to think, breathe, and set an intention before the world rushed in. Today, that sanctuary has been replaced by an endless stream of notifications and urgent distractions. This is where the concept of financial friction begins to take hold of your potential. Every time you check an email or scroll through a feed, you are spending your most valuable currency. You are trading your peak cognitive energy for pennies of dopamine. Most people view these minutes as harmless gaps in their schedule. They fail to see how these micro-decisions accumulate into a massive psychological debt over months and years. This debt manifests as missed opportunities and a chronic lack of clarity in your professional life. We live in an era where billion-dollar companies spend fortunes to capture your attention the second you open your eyes. Their algorithms are specifically engineered to exploit your morning grogginess. You are the target of a sophisticated war for your focus that starts before you even leave your bed. When your focus is fragmented early on, your ability to make high-stakes financial decisions later in the day is compromised. You enter your workspace already exhausted from a marathon of trivial choices. This invisible fatigue is the primary reason why your bank account remains stagnant despite your hard work. To understand how to break this cycle, we must look at how your brain's reward system has been hijacked. It is not a matter of willpower or discipline alone. You are fighting against a biological blueprint that was never meant for the digital age. This evolutionary mismatch started long before the first smartphone was ever designed. Our ancestors used their limited morning energy to scan for immediate threats and secure basic survival. Today, that same survival instinct is being exploited by a digital landscape specifically engineered to keep you scrolling. Think of your brain as a battery that starts with a finite amount of decision capital every single morning. Every notification you check and every irrelevant headline you read drains that power before you even leave your bed. By the time you need to focus on wealth-building tasks, your mental reserves are already dangerously low. Historically, the morning was a time of deep focus and intentional preparation for the day's labor. In the modern era, we have replaced this sacred window with a chaotic flood of external stimuli and useless information. This shift has turned the most productive hours of your life into a playground for advertisers and distractions. The technical name for this trap is the dopamine feedback loop, which triggers a false sense of accomplishment. When you engage with low-value digital tasks, your brain releases a small chemical reward that feels like genuine progress. In reality, you are just spinning your wheels while your actual financial goals drift further out of reach. This is where financial friction begins to take its heaviest toll on your long-term net worth. Small, inefficient habits create a resistance that slows down your professional momentum and creative output. Over several years, this friction acts like a negative interest rate, silently eroding the potential of your greatest earning years. Understanding this biological hijack is the first step toward reclaiming your financial sovereignty. You cannot fix a problem that you do not fully see or comprehend in your own daily life. Now that the origin of this invisible leak is clear, we must examine exactly how it manifests in your current reality. This invisible leak is no longer just a theory once you realize the sheer scale of what you are losing. You might think you are just losing time, but you are actually sabotaging your ability to recognize life-changing opportunities. The friction has reached a breaking point where your standard routine is now your greatest liability. Imagine trying to drive a high-performance vehicle through a thick, suffocating fog with a cracked windshield. That is exactly what you are doing to your career every time you succumb to the morning scroll. The clarity required to make million-dollar moves is being traded for the cheap thrill of a social media notification. We have crossed a threshold where passive living is no longer an option for those who seek true financial freedom. The gap between the distracted masses and the focused elite is widening at an exponential rate. If you do not pivot immediately, you risk being permanently sidelined in an economy that only rewards deep, undistracted work. When you audit your morning, you discover that the cost of these distractions is far higher than a few wasted minutes. You are paying with the compound interest of your talent and the momentum of your most ambitious projects. This is the moment where you must decide if you are a consumer or a creator of value. An internal war is now raging between your desire for comfort and your hunger for a better life. The old version of you wants to stay in the safety of the digital loop because it feels easy and familiar. However, the realization of this financial friction makes it impossible to return to your previous state of ignorance. Continuing on this path is a guarantee of mediocrity and a life defined by a series of missed chances. The friction you have ignored for years is finally creating enough heat to burn down your future prospects. You can no longer pretend that your morning choices are disconnected from your bank account balance. This crisis demands a complete psychological overhaul of how you view the first 60 minutes of your day. You must stop seeing your morning as a time for recovery and start seeing it as a high-stakes battlefield. Every second you spend in a reactive state is a direct donation to someone else's empire. The stability of your old life has been shattered by the truth of how much you have already lost. You are standing at a crossroads where one path leads to more friction and the other leads to total financial dominance. To move forward, you must first confront the specific mechanism that will either save you or destroy your potential. This mechanism is the attention tax, a hidden levy that compounds every time you trade your morning clarity for a digital distraction. It is the moment you realize that your lack of progress is not due to a lack of talent, but a systematic theft of your cognitive prime. This realization is the catalyst that changes everything about how you perceive your daily labor. The crisis occurs when you finally calculate the true cost of this friction over a decade of your life. You are not just losing minutes, you are sacrificing the compound interest of your focus and the strategic moves that build real wealth. This is the irreversible shift where you stop being a passive consumer and start becoming a ruthless protector of your mental assets. You can no longer ignore the friction that has been slowing down your career and draining your bank account. The digital landscape is no longer a tool for your convenience, but a predator designed to keep you in a state of perpetual financial mediocrity. This discovery forces a confrontation with your current habits that you can no longer afford to lose. Now that the veil has been lifted, the comfort of your old routine feels like a cage that is actively shrinking. You are faced with the brutal truth that staying the same is now more painful than the effort required to change. The battle for your financial future has officially moved from a theoretical concept to an immediate, life-altering emergency. You decide to break the cycle tomorrow morning, fueled by a sudden burst of motivation and a clear vision of your potential. You set your phone in another room and promise yourself that things will be different this time. But as the sun rises, the physical pull of your old habits feels heavier than you ever anticipated. Your brain immediately begins to negotiate with you, offering 1,000 reasons why today isn't the right day to start. It craves the familiar hit of dopamine that comes from checking your messages or scrolling through the news. This internal resistance is the first wall of financial friction that stops most people before they even begin. You tell yourself that a quick 5-minute check won't hurt, just to make sure there are no emergencies waiting in your inbox. That single moment of weakness is the crack in the dam that lets the entire digital ocean flood back in. Before you realize it, 20 minutes have vanished, and your high-performance mindset has already been compromised. Even if you manage to resist the phone, the world around you seems designed to pull you back into the fog. Family members, roommates, or colleagues reach out with trivial requests that feel urgent in the heat of the moment. You realize that protecting your morning is not just a personal battle, but a social one that requires setting firm boundaries. You might assume that you simply need more willpower to overcome these initial hurdles and stay on track. However, you soon discover that willpower is a finite resource that drains faster than a cheap battery under pressure. Relying on sheer discipline is a losing strategy when you are fighting against algorithms designed by the world's smartest engineers. In your search for a solution, you might try popular productivity hacks or expensive morning routine apps to stay organized. You buy the journals and download the trackers, hoping a new tool will solve the underlying friction for you. Yet, these external fixes often become just another form of distraction that keeps you busy without making you truly productive. You begin to see that your morning routine is governed by an invisible script you didn't even write yourself. This script was handed to you by a society that values consumption over creation and reactivity over long-term strategy. Breaking this script feels like trying to speak a new language while everyone around you is shouting in the old one. The frustration builds as you realize that your first attempts at change are failing to produce the financial breakthrough you desire. The friction is deeper and more structural than you previously thought, embedded in the very fabric of your daily environment. You are now facing the brutal reality that a simple fix is not enough to reclaim your cognitive wealth. This struggle becomes apparent when you try to set a new rule, like keeping your phone in another room, only to find yourself reaching for it out of pure muscle memory. This reflexive pull is stronger than your logical desire for success because your brain has been conditioned to crave that early morning hit. You quickly discover that willpower is a leaking bucket that empties long before you finish your first cup of coffee. Even when you manage to resist the screen, the people around you inadvertently pull you back into the friction. Friends and colleagues expect instant replies, treating your morning silence as a personal slight or a lack of professional urgency. You realize that protecting your focus makes you an outlier in a world that confuses constant activity with actual productivity. This resistance reveals a deeper truth about the architecture of your modern life and how it was never designed for your financial thriving. You start to see that every app, every notification, and every social expectation is a deliberate obstacle placed in your path to wealth. The friction isn't just in your mind, it is embedded in the tools you use and the culture you inhabit every single day. Every failed attempt to break the cycle adds a layer of frustration that threatens to derail your entire professional ambition. You begin to suspect that there is a hidden mechanism you haven't yet mastered, one that goes beyond simple time management. The stakes are rising as you realize that without a radical shift, you are destined to remain a passenger in your own financial journey. This hidden mechanism isn't just a lack of discipline, it's a psychological trap designed to keep you in a state of perpetual debt to your own potential. You are operating within a system that profits from your distraction, turning your most valuable hours into a commodity for others to harvest. Think of your focus as a high-interest savings account that you are accidentally draining every single morning. Every time you check a notification, you are making a withdrawal that you cannot pay back with interest later in the day. This is the brutal reality of financial friction. It doesn't just slow you down, it actively bankrupts your future. Your brain in its waking state is highly suggestible, making it the perfect target for algorithms that prioritize engagement over your prosperity. When you invite these distractions in early, you are essentially letting a thief into your vault while the security system is still offline. You would never leave your physical wallet on a crowded sidewalk, yet you leave your mental capital exposed to every digital predator. The difference between those who build empires and those who merely survive is how they guard this initial window of clarity. The elite understand that their morning focus is the seed capital for their entire financial legacy. They do not treat their attention as a renewable resource, but as a finite asset that must be invested with extreme prejudice. This attention tax you are paying is invisible, but the results are clearly visible in your stagnant bank account and stalled projects. You are working harder than ever, yet you feel like you are running on a treadmill that someone else is controlling. The friction is so deeply embedded that you have started to mistake this constant state of exhaustion for actual progress. You must confront the uncomfortable truth that you have become a professional consumer in a world that only rewards creators. Every minute spent reacting to the world's demands is a minute you are not spending building your own value. This imbalance is the primary reason why your financial goals feel like they are moving further away despite your best efforts. In that half-awake state, your critical thinking is bypassed, allowing low-value information to set the tone for your entire financial day. You are essentially making life-altering decisions about your time while you are still mentally compromised. This creates a ripple effect of mediocre choices that compound into a life of unfulfilled potential and missed wealth. To break free, you have to stop fighting the symptoms and start dismantling the entire architecture of your morning. It is not about finding a better app or a new alarm clock. It is about a fundamental shift in how you value your own cognitive energy. The confrontation you are avoiding is the only thing standing between your current reality and the financial freedom you deserve. This confrontation requires you to look at your bank account and your screen time as two sides of the same coin. Every minute spent reacting to the world is a minute you aren't building your own legacy. You are currently paying a high-interest debt to digital giants with the primary currency of your future success. Think of your brain as a high-speed processor that is being throttled by parasitic software the moment it boots up. This isn't just a bad habit, it is a systematic drain on your most valuable asset, which is your creative focus. When you allow this friction to persist, you are essentially subsidizing the growth of others with your own mental fatigue. You wouldn't walk into a high-stakes business negotiation while half asleep and unprepared, yet that is exactly how you handle your morning. By letting external noise dictate your first thoughts, you are surrendering the high ground before the day even begins. The cost of this surrender is the loss of the strategic edge required to dominate your market and build real wealth. The friction you feel is the sound of your potential grinding to a halt against the gears of a system designed to keep you average. It is a brutal reality that most people will never acknowledge because the truth is too heavy to carry. You must decide right now if you are willing to burn down your old habits to make room for a life of absolute financial clarity. You might think that simply deciding to change is enough to flip the switch and reclaim your life. You've identified the friction, seen the hidden costs, and felt the desperate urge to fix your broken habits. But as you attempt to implement these changes, you realize the gravity of your situation is far heavier than a simple choice. You try to shut the world out, but the sudden silence feels deafening and deeply uncomfortable. Without the constant hum of digital noise to distract you, you are left alone with the crushing weight of your current financial reality. The initial surge of motivation quickly evaporates, leaving you feeling more exhausted and defeated than when you first started. It starts to feel as though the system has already won and your brain is too far gone to be rewired. You look at your stagnant bank account and your repetitive daily habits, concluding that maybe you weren't built for this level of elite success. The friction has become a permanent part of your identity, a heavy weight you feel destined to carry forever. Eventually, you return to your old ways, picking up the phone before your eyes are even fully open. The familiar glow of the screen feels like a warm blanket, shielding you from the cold truth of your own stagnation. You tell yourself that this is just how modern life works, and that the dream of financial freedom was just a temporary hallucination. There is a certain hollow peace in this surrender, a relief in no longer fighting a battle you feel destined to lose. You stop trying to optimize your mornings and accept the mediocrity that society has carefully paved for you. The story of your potential seems to end here, buried under a mountain of notifications and missed opportunities. Yet, even in this state of total resignation, a small, persistent part of you knows that something is still missing. You've tried the discipline, you've tried the apps, and you've even tried the radical isolation of your environment. You start to wonder why it feels like you are missing the one critical piece of the puzzle that makes everything else click. You suddenly realize that you have been focusing entirely on the what and the how, while completely ignoring the when. The friction isn't just about your habits, it's about a specific biological window you are inadvertently sabotaging every single day. There is a hidden variable in your morning chemistry that you haven't even begun to consider. Just as you are ready to walk away and accept your fate, you discover a massive flaw in your understanding of how wealth is actually generated. This isn't about willpower or complex morning routines, it's about a 90-second physiological trigger that dictates your entire financial destiny. You are about to see the one thing that changes the entire game forever. This realization hits you with a cold clarity that makes your previous efforts look like a desperate scramble in the dark. You might feel a sense of profound regret for the years wasted fighting a battle you were never equipped to win. It is easy to believe that the damage to your financial future is already done and that the window for true success has permanently closed. The weight of this perceived failure can be paralyzing, making you want to retreat back into the comfort of your old, destructive routines. You see the gap between where you are and where you want to be, and it feels like an unbridgeable chasm. At this point, most people simply give up, accepting a life of financial friction as their inevitable reality. However, the feeling that all is lost is actually the sign that you are finally stripping away the layers of noise that have blinded you. You aren't broken, and your potential hasn't vanished, you have simply been operating without the master key to your own biology. The struggle you've endured was never about your lack of talent, but about a missing piece of information that changes everything. That missing piece is a specific neurological bypass that reclaims your focus before the friction even has a chance to form. By understanding this one physiological trigger, you can stop fighting yourself and start leveraging your brain's natural state for massive gain. You are now ready to see how a single 90-second shift can finally unlock the wealth that has been waiting for you all along. This 90-second trigger is known as the cortisol-dopamine bridge, the exact moment your brain transitions from the fluid creativity of sleep to the analytical rigor of the day. By intentionally delaying your first digital interaction by just 90 seconds, you prevent the immediate hijacking of your neural pathways. This brief pause acts as a firewall, protecting your mental capital from the high-interest debt of external distractions. During this critical window, your brain is moving from alpha waves into beta waves, a state where your subconscious is most receptive to strategic direction. When you reach for your phone instantly, you force a violent shift that shatters your cognitive clarity and replaces it with reactive anxiety. By guarding these 90 seconds, you allow your natural biological rhythm to set a foundation of focus that lasts for the next 12 hours. The secret isn't a complex ritual or an expensive supplement, it is the radical implementation of the zero-input rule. You must exist in a state of pure observation, allowing your own internal priorities to surface before the world's demands can bury them. This simple act of non-reaction is the ultimate power move in an economy that thrives on your impulsive participation. Think of this 90-second buffer as the seed capital for your daily productivity. Just as a small investment compounded over time creates massive wealth, these moments of protected clarity compound into an unstoppable momentum. You are effectively choosing to invest in your own vision rather than subsidizing the attention economy with your first waking thoughts. This is where the financial friction finally dissolves, replaced by a streamlined path toward your highest value goals. Without the initial drag of digital noise, your brain operates with a level of efficiency that makes complex tasks feel effortless. You are no longer fighting against a headwind of distractions, but sailing with the full force of your biological focus behind you. By mastering this transition, you shift your identity from a passive consumer back to a dominant creator. You reclaim the high ground of your own mind, ensuring that every financial decision you make is driven by logic rather than a dopamine-starved impulse. This is the moment you stop paying the attention tax and start collecting the dividends of a disciplined mind. The ripple effect of this 90-second shift is profound, influencing how you negotiate, how you invest, and how you perceive opportunity. You will find yourself noticing high-leverage moves that were previously invisible behind a fog of mental exhaustion. Your bank account begins to reflect this new clarity, as the friction that once held you back is replaced by a smooth, calculated drive toward prosperity. You have finally found the master key that unlocks the door to your true potential. This isn't just about a better morning, it's about reclaiming the very mechanism that builds empires and secures legacies. The battle for your financial future is won or lost in these 90 seconds, and for the first time in your life, you are the one in control. This control begins with the pre-input protocol, a 90-second period of total cognitive silence before a single byte of digital data enters your field of vision. By intentionally delaying the flood of notifications, you allow your brain's neurochemistry to stabilize in a state of high-value production rather than low-value reaction. This is the exact moment you stop paying the attention tax and start collecting compounding interest on your own focus. When you master this brief interval, the financial friction that once paralyzed your decision-making simply evaporates into the air. You are no longer a passive observer in your own life, but a strategic investor of your most precious resource. Every morning becomes a high-stakes trade where you exchange 90 seconds of stillness for an entire day of absolute market dominance. The world will continue to scream for your attention, but you now possess the biological armor required to ignore the noise and execute your vision. You have transitioned from a reactive consumer into a proactive architect of your own financial legacy. The crushing weight of your previous stagnation is replaced by the effortless momentum of a mind that is finally operating at its full capacity. Your financial destiny is no longer a matter of luck or grueling overtime, but a predictable result of this newfound morning clarity. By protecting this sacred window, you have effectively rewired your brain to identify profit where others only see distraction. The mistake that was costing you a fortune has been corrected, and the path to your ultimate freedom is finally wide open. This newfound freedom doesn't stop at your bank balance, it fundamentally reshapes the legacy you are building for the future. By eliminating the friction that once drained your potential, you create a ripple effect that touches every aspect of your professional and personal life. You are no longer just surviving the morning, but masterfully architecting a life of sustained, high-level achievement. As you continue to master this biological window, the version of you that was once paralyzed by digital noise will feel like a distant memory. Your newfound clarity becomes a permanent competitive advantage, allowing you to navigate the complexities of the modern economy with surgical precision. The discipline you've cultivated in these 90 seconds serves as the foundation for a life of total financial and mental sovereignty. The world around you will remain chaotic and demanding, but your internal environment is now a fortress of strategic intent. You have successfully decoupled your net worth from the erratic whims of the attention economy, placing the power back where it belongs. This is the moment where your daily actions finally align with your highest ambitions, turning your vision into a tangible, growing reality. But while you have now mastered the start of your day, there is another hidden force operating in the background that could still undermine your progress. Even with perfect morning clarity, your subconscious may still be running outdated financial scripts that dictate how much wealth you are actually allowed to keep. To truly complete your transformation, you must now look at the invisible psychological ceilings that are quietly capping your earning potential.